like the first time president wa Kenya alikuja Uganda, his first presidential
tour.
Yes, visit, the official one. I was there and I was in State House, Uganda, huwa in Entebbe. So I met, he came of course with some ministers, wakanisalimia, they said, hey, Cynthia, kumbe uko huku. The Ugandan side is like, hapana, huyu ni wetu, huyu ni we, she's ours until after election maybe tutamrudisha. And then
so you did also PR for Museveni.
Yes.
Hey, Museveni pia ni mtu ana PR inafanyika. PR Museveni PR ama ile biami tu watu wanakupigwa.
You know,
what PR do you do for Museveni?
You know, let me tell you.
Wow.
You know, there are many things people don't understand about Uganda. And even I was a victim of that. By the time I was going to Uganda, you see, by that time, nilikuwa nimefanya a few countries, so I feel like nimefika. You know, I'm fine. Nimefika. So before I got there, I'd already worked on the proposal. Everything was ready. You know, I felt like, I'm now an expert. Until one time, I remember I was seated, we were having dinner with some expatriates. We had, then the South African High Commissioner also was new in Uganda. So we sat with him. We sat with a gentleman called Robert Kabushenga. He's the CEO of Vision, New Vision, one of the newspapers there and TV stations. They're government owned, so partly government owned. So he now told us about the history of Uganda, and he was telling us how hata ndege ikipita juu, his stomach gets sick because inamkumbusha siku za war. And then there was another gentleman akatuonyesha nini zake, bullet holes on his hand. And then the South African High Commissioner, he was even telling us how even for them, when they were fighting apartheid in that country, they trained a lot in Uganda. And it made me respect Uganda. These are people who've come from war. And war, I pray that Kenya will never ever go there. Yeah, war really affects a country. You know, it takes you guys back 50 years. And it affects every aspect of your life. Even
economically, socially, every single thing.
Psychologically. How Ugandans think, or Rwanda, is very different from how Kenyans think. So then I quickly realized that when we're having that conversation is that I had to quickly change the strategy that I had. And one of the things that works for Museveni, and I realized that day, is that Ugandans have never known peace until when Museveni came into power. Another thing is also, before that, I had read a book written by Museveni, and he spoke, I like political parties that have a strong ideology. Si mambo ya kuruka party, leo there are 50 parties tufungue ingine, and I've been trying to learn them. That's why I also worked a bit with CCM to learn about the strong parties. And his is based on something he wrote when he was serving in the bush. Another thing pia watu wajui, he was in the bush. Watu wamekuwa kwa bush wakafaitia nchi yao, hauwezi tu watoa hivyo. But in the bush, he wrote a 10-point program, which later became 14. One of the things he spoke about is there needs to be Pan-Africanism in Kenya. I mean, in Africa. And that's one of the things that made me love Museveni. That even when he was fighting for liberation and he's away from his family and everyone, he's thinking about how to bring Africa together. And to live there and to see he was not pretending or just writing ideologies. When you live in Uganda, hawezi kosa kukutana na at least 5 Kenyans in one morning, wacha hata in a day. And most of the places you go to, you'll find a lot of CEOs, top managers are Kenyans. Hakuna mtu atawauliza. In fact, if you ask the Kenyans living there, they don't mind if Museveni, they didn't mind that he won this last election. Wako na hiyo protection yake. And so many have invested there. Some of them go to university there and never come back. Because there are opportunities there and you really feel like you're at home. Hata sometimes I would forget I'm in Kenya. I'm in Uganda. Yeah, I'd feel like I'm in Kenya. So, and then another thing is that also about him is that's different is the security. It's like one house I was living in, the upstairs floor in my room, the whole wall was glass. na ni ile tu ya kuslide hivi na chini tu ni glass, hakuna mtu atakuja kwako. Hata sometimes because it's so hot in one of the rooms, I just open the glass door and I sleep. Hakuna mtu atakuja kwako. Or even the way sometimes I see guns, people are, you know, throwing out guns here during the day. Those are not things you will see there. So these are people who've gone through a difficult time. I believe that yes, after this there should be new leadership, there should be new ideas. It's time, but it is very unfair to judge a country kama you have not read their history and to understand. And another thing, it's not a civilian, he's not a civilian president, he's a general. Kutoa general si rahisi, and it is very fragile. Like even in Zimbabwe, it will need someone in the army to help in that transition, and also it will need whoever will be the next president is someone who the army can respect and say this can be our chief. It's not, nobody can just go over and take over that country. So there are a lot of issues. I know watu watasema naongea hivyo juu but my time in Uganda was not easy.
It was crazy, yeah?
It ended very badly, very badly, very badly.
When you say it ended badly, what happened?
You know, I remember one time people here decided to make me trend. Wakasema, they were calling me blood money or something because they were saying I'm working for the Rwandan president and the Ugandan president. Yet those two countries have some serious issues between them, and to separate those issues is difficult because almost all Ugandans are Rwandans and Rwandans are Ugandans. So so when the two presidents were having issues, somebody decides to tweet that, which is a lie. I'm working in Uganda. I'm working in a security office. I was working with the Ugandan police force. But then later after that, my boss, who was the IGP, was sacked by the president. And there were stories that he might be leaning a bit more on the Rwandan side. And also I had a colleague of mine who was shot. And Uganda, you're not just shot at TV ovyo. By the time you see someone shot, especially that style, and during the day, you know that it had to be someone high up who allowed this to happen. So there was investigations going on, and so people in our office were fired. Unfortunately, I was working in the office of the IGP. So, and a lot of people in our office were arrested. It became a big story. East Africa, people were so worried. They were sending me messages, are you safe, are you okay?
Were you arrested?
No, I was not arrested. I'm very grateful, but it was a difficult time. In fact, for a long time, I would sleep in my bed with my clothes on because a lot of people were being arrested at night. So that in case they come for me, at least I'm well dressed na niko tayari kwenda. So I was ready for that. The other thing was, of course, the usual, you know, people will, where we were working, you know, people will try to embarrass you, say your security is removed, all those things you get when you're working with the government. All that, you know, is taken away. And people try to show you, let's see how powerful you are. People were not happy that as I was working there, and especially in police as